October has been the month of Filipino Dota. From Adroit's valiant lower bracket run to TNC's dominating performance at ESL One Hamburg, Dota fans from the Philippines have good reasons to celebrate. The cherry on this Sunday is the fact that this is the first time in ESL One history that a Southeast Asian team has won the tournament. Here's how Filipino Dota dominated the month of October.
Finish the objective-based gaming, they'll take the bottom ranks, and they'll take the series.
Starting off, let's have a look at Team Adroit's run through ESL Clash of Nations Bangkok 2019. Founded earlier this year in May, Team Adroit came seemingly out of nowhere and started making their mark on the Tier 2 Dota scene. Their carry and mid players, Natsumi and Mac, have little competitive experience. However, backed by the experience of Boombax and Bok, they are just as good, if not better, than the players on the other side. Their run started off in the play-ins against Atletico Esports. The Sharks did well, winning all their series through the upper bracket and reaching the main event with just one loss in a BO3 to the Australian squad. Mac and Natsumi played a different hero in every single match of the play-ins. It's clear that although young, these players pack quite a punch.
Adroit, not to mention they actually qualified to the first major of the season, Chengdu Major. They're looking very hot right now, so I think this team is actually the favorite of most people going into this tournament and actually eventually might just win the whole game.
The playoffs also seem to start off with a smooth ride, with Adroit beating 496 Gaming convincingly.
That's the why. This should be GG. They even got the Korean. There we go, Adroit. They advance. They're gonna face off against their nemesis again, Boom Esports, upper bracket. Hype.
While Adroit tried to avoid fighting into the lineup of Boom Esports, the Wolves had a more overall synergistic draft, allowing them not only to outfight, but also outfarm Boombax and his boys. As a result of the loss, they were sent to the lower bracket of the ESL Clash of Nations. Things started looking a little scary for Adroit. If they lost this match, they'd be sent home packing. And perhaps to their fortune, they were up against a team that they had beaten once in the very same tournament, 496 Gaming. Most good teams in Dota learn from their losses and improve, and 496 Gaming was no exception. They took Game 1 in approximately 60 minutes, winning against Adroit's Arc Warden in the late game, with a mid-game lineup of Monkey King, Lina, and Tidehunter. But this is the story of Adroit. In game number 2, Adroit decided that it wasn't their draft that was the issue, but their playstyle. They went for a higher tempo lineup with Gyrocopter and Invoker as their main cores. Once again, leveraging their versatility with a Quas Vex Invoker, they shut down the enemy lineup. Being uncharacteristically patient for an SEA team, Adroit forced opportunities to present themselves as they beat 496 Gaming with a 28k net worth lead. Game 3 was a similar affair, only this time it was 6 minutes faster. Next up, they faced the Thai powerhouse, RRQ Trust. RRQ was a tough nut to crack, and Adroit resorted to cheesing them in Game 1 with a 4th pick Alchemist. Despite the Alchemist pick, it took Adroit an hour to break RRQ's base. RRQ was able to retaliate in a crushing manner in Game 2, besting the boys in blue in 29 minutes flat. But if there was one thing that Adroit had that other teams didn't, it was a burning desire for the trophy. Emphasizing heavily on map control, they used Beastmaster, Naga Siren, and Night Stalker to claim the entire map for themselves, limiting RRQ's options. The plan worked, and Adroit had just booked a spot in the grand final.
Trigger getting forced back, but this is it. Adroit, they get the throne. The Cinderella story continues for the Philippine squad. They're gonna get a rematch against Boom Esports and
It was time for some payback. Adroit threw in twists and turns as they went with the quirky supporting duo of Shadow Demon and Night Stalker. The change-up worked, and Boom Esports threw in the towel in Game 1. Beating Boom Esports wasn't gonna be a walk in the park though. In Game number 2, Boom Esports picked up a surprise axe, putting a major dent in the plans of Adroit. Able to capitalize on their high-tempo lineup, the Indonesian Wolves took Game 2 with relative ease. In a move that caught Boom Esports completely off guard, Adroit picked up Phantom Lancer. Boom Esports attempted to counter this with a Sven pickup, and the game ended up becoming a close affair. While Boom Esports had managed to fatten up their Sven by huge proportions, towards the late game, their supports paid the price. On the other side of the coin, the supports on Adroit had acquired a substantial amount of farm, and that was more than enough to make a difference. After 56 grueling minutes, the Sharks had devoured the Wolves. The championship title belonged to Adroit.
All the way from the lower bracket, they will be your Clash of Nations champions.
While this battle drew to a close in Thailand, Adroit's Filipino brethren, TNC, were waging a war in Germany at ESL One Hamburg. Before we continue, pat yourself on the back for making it to the halfway point of the video. Before we continue, comment #AdroitWin and keep watching to get a shout out in our next video. TNC, the underdog, the dark horse. A lot of words have been used to describe TNC, but the Tier 1 tag has long eluded them. While they were a dominant force in regional tournaments, when it came to international LAN events, they were yet to prove their mettle. And although the team has an army of fans in the region, it was yet to earn the respect of the Western fans. Until now. Over the past year leading up to the international, TNC was a dominant force in the SEA region, finishing first at WESG 2018 and at the Asia Pacific Predator League 2019. Their performances at international LAN steadily improved as they placed higher than ever before at international LAN tournaments. The performance at TI, however, remained subpar.
Fisher, now the soul bind together. Gabby is already spinning himself away. Paparazzi is killing Tim to the back line. They'll go Fountain if they want to. Now going for the Megas. Edict burns through all the buildings. Gabby moves forward, looking for some damage to burn off what mana? No, he's going to burn off life instead. Perched up. Now the rock will drop. He just wanted to control the Juggernaut. He'll still get the Omni Slash off, however. But how much damage is this really doing? They're so tanky and split across the fight. That's GG. DG Gaming will advance to the semi-finals to have a date with an all-LGDBG China semi-final one.
Seeing that TNC often lacked the tenacity at international LAN events, it was well accepted that they were all individually skilled but lacked finesse. All this would change in a little over 2 months after the international ended. Cuckoo, who had been with TNC for 3 years,
Playing in this team is so good because I feel like we're like a family. In game, it's like a job, but when outside the game, we are just like a family.
Nice.
So it's very good to play in TNC.
and who was quite possibly the poster child for Filipino Dota, left the team. AU and Yin left alongside him. The move came as a bit of a shock, especially after Cuckoo dismissed the claims around his LFT tweet. With their cultural icon gone, TNC had to rebuild the very foundation of their roster. So when ESL One Hamburg 2019 came around, nobody knew what to expect of the former Filipino favorites. In most teams, a string of below average results would follow, with an expectation to do better in later tournaments. The new additions, March and KP, had witnessed some good results in the past, but they hadn't achieved anything spectacular in the last season. TNC wasn't gonna settle for top 3. Their group was filled with old veterans of the scene such as the CIS team, Wind and Rain, and TI5 winner PPD's Ninjas in Pajamas. For Armel and Co, doing well in the groups would be an uphill battle. However, when the games began, everything changed. In their first series against the new Liquid, TNC outclassed their opponents by a huge margin.
Picking at all in this situation, Insane is being burnt down by Armel on the back lines. They finish up the supports, Taiga.
Always being a step ahead, they won the net worth battle and outfarmed their opponents in both games.
Looking like the beginning of the end for Team Liquid. KP quite low, but Koifa no longer having his shapeshift. Again, no real damage there. Same goes with Taiga. That was genius indeed.
Winning with a convincing 2-0 scoreline. It would suffice to say that this was just the beginning. Up next, they went against PPD's NIP, with some unconventional picks such as a safe lane Night Stalker and a mid Slark.
It's a difficult one. Do they 1v1 the Slark against Ember mid?
Yeah, they will.
Slark wins that matchup easily, right?
Yeah, it's...
TNC read NIP like a book.
As inside the base, the taunt is used. TNC, they are diving. They are going so hard right now. But
TNC was crushing every single team that stood in their way. KP and March's TI experience combined with the raw, unadulterated mechanical skill from Armel, Gabby and Tim's was a combination that seemed impossible to breach. A stellar performance in the group stages meant an upper bracket start for the Filipino favorites. In their first series against Alliance, they proved that they were hands down the top contender for the trophy. In Game 1, Alliance tapped out within 26 minutes after Armel styled on them with his monstrous net worth lead. Game 2 was a similar affair, with Alliance dropping the ball in 30 minutes. It seemed as if the team was in a class of its own.
There's the black hole to make sure Nico Baby has no chance to be able to do anything in his second life, and that's just it. Clean, crisp, beautiful Dota coming out from
They
them.
did not even make it 30 minutes.
The next series against Gambit was also one-sided, with TNC taking the game in less than 29 minutes. With that, TNC managed to reach the grand finals. However, Gambit wasn't gonna go down so easily. They had a great run through the lower bracket and set up a rematch against the Filipinos in the grand finals. They were gunning for revenge. The finals started off fairly well for TNC as they took Game 1 with relative ease. However, Game 2 did not go their way.
They're going to level this series up at 1 apiece. The BKB Batrider, drag him back in for the double lasso, hold them in place, and bring him down and push out the GG from TNC's lips. Gambit tie the series and ensure that TNC don't just whitewash this grand final.
The finals was a constant back and forth affair, with TNC and Gambit winning Game 3 and Game 4 respectively to push it to a deciding Game 5. After all the different strats that the team ran in the tournament, they gave the finals the characteristic TNC treatment. After 23 minutes, Armel had so much farm that he simply dived Gambit in their own base.
Armel, yep, inside the base, Sinister Gaze in, TP's arriving from Dream, and now Alchemist will be put to the test. They get the silence on him. If they have another stun that slows under the tier 4 towers, Zero Chain's back off cooldown. They just have to kill Armel, but oh wait, he's got BKB. Walks away, disengages, and now...
Eventually, Gambit tapped out as they realized that they didn't even have a fighting chance at 28 minutes.
But there's so much strength in this TNC lineup. They'll finish the objective-based gaming, they'll take the bottom racks, and they'll take the series, the grand final.
Winning the tournament in the most anticlimactic way possible, the new TNC roster became the first ever Southeast Asian team in the history of ESL One to clinch the grand prize.
It has taken this long in ESL One history for a Southeast Asian team to rise to the point of being able to be crowned the champions of ESL One. But it has happened here at ESL One Hamburg 2019. Your champions, TNC!
Wow, look at you, making it to the end of the video. If you've watched this far, we want you to comment down below PH Dota Best Dota and you'll stand a chance to have a shout out in our next video. Let us know in the comments below if you think TNC will make a mark on this year's DPC circuit. Hit the like button if you like it and subscribe if you don't want techies in your games.